This is a little rogues gallery of things that you'll need to do this experiment. On the bottom left is something very important. It's a USB audio interface that has an ASIO software interface. These are very common in the audio world. This one happens to be met by Complete Audio. It's a Complete Audio 6. Creative Labs has two, the E5s and the E6s, that also have ASIO interface. And Motu will work, RME will work, many other brands will work with this interface. The other things that you're going to need one of some kind of loudspeaker to do the equal loudness experiment. And on the top left is one by Titanium that I bought for $30 at TJ Maxx. There are many of this type of device available. It's useful, it will work. To the right of it at the top is a pair of equalize speakers I got from Amazon for $15. They're also USB powered and would work just fine, but they need equalization desperately. Below them is a rather more expensive USB speaker made by Altec, and that one works almost good enough right out of the box. You don't have to equalize it. It sounds pretty good. But I will equalize it, and it sounds much better if you do. It's fairly expensive. The speaker to the right of it at the bottom is a JBL satellite speaker. It was quite expensive, really, and it needs an amplifier to power. But that speaker is flat enough that you don't have to equalize it typically, although it, like others, sounds better if you do. Above it is a really essential tool that anybody interested in audio should probably know about. This is an Android smartphone operating or playing an app called Audio Tool, which is a real-time analyzer of some sophistication. Below it and plugged into it is that somewhat Y-shaped object, which is a calibrated microphone that you can buy from Parts Express. It's made by Dayton Audio. And it comes with a calibration you can load into the smartphone. These two together make an extremely useful tool. With this tool you can equalize any of these loudspeakers to about 1.5 dB. And that's a wonderful tool for doing this app. Here's another rogues gallery of something you'll actually need to do this experiment, and that is at least one pair of headphones. The app allows you to equalize 5 different headphones in one sitting, and students at various institutions who've used this app, once they get familiar with it, can easily do that, do their own personal equal loudness to a speaker, and do equalization for 5 different headphones, all in under half an hour. Once you get the hang of this is very quick. The app makes it very easy. Anyway, these are some headphones which I find are interesting. On the bottom right is a pair of Beyer 990 Pros, very expensive. Sound pretty good, but far from correct unless they're individually equalized. Above that, or let's go to the left, the next one over is the AKG 501, a very good pair of headphones that I used for many years, but again, much improved by individual equalization. To the left of that is the AKG 701s, also good headphones, but very much improved with equalization. And to the left of that is a pair of Sennheiser noise-canceling headphones. They're on-ear type. The previous ones that I showed there were all circumaural or around-the-ear type. I find that these Sennheiser on-ear headphones, and the noise-canceling one is no exception, have some of the very best results once you equalize them. And the reason for that is this very tight coupling between the diaphragm of the headphone and the concha and the ear canal damps most of the resonances that would otherwise be problematic. Even more true if you go up one step, there is a pair of Apple earbuds. Those sound absolutely wonderful once you've equalized them, and again the reason is there are very few internal resonances. The ones that are there you can equalize, and then you can match to your own ear canal resonances in a very smooth way, and the result can be stunning. To the right of those headphones is all 3 electrostatic phones. First one by Koss. That's their second model. It's a wonderful headphone. Also responds to equalization rather well. The one next to that is a Type 303 Classic from Stax, one of the worst performers in this equalization gamble. as are most of the Stax electrostatic headphones that I know about. The problem is really repeatability and resonances inside the extra large cups. Every time you put them on, you get different resonances. You have a lot of trouble equalizing them. They sound better with EQ, but unreliable. And next to that, on the furthest right on the top, is a pair of Stax electrostatic on-ear phones, which equalize extremely well. Those are rather similar to the Sennheiser on-ear phones once they've been equalized. Wonderful phones, but not any longer available, and all the equipment is heavy, and you need a separate amplifier and all that stuff. So that's the Rogues Gallery of headphones. For this experiment, for this video, I'm going to show you just equalizing the Apple earbuds, because they have a very good result, and the fact that they only cost $30 and give you a fantastic sound is worth knowing. Okay, here's the essential elements of the setup. I have the Altec speaker at ear level, and I have my laptop, and I have the complete audio ready to go. I have my earphones plugged into a Y connector here. You don't need that. I'm just going to do it so that when I do the earphones, the speaker will let the camera know approximately what I'm hearing. This is basically what I'm going to do. Here I am about to do the loudspeaker equalization experiment, about 18 inches from the loudspeaker, and looking directly at it. Now it's very important that the loudspeaker be approximately ear level and that I look straight at it. If I turn my head this way or that way a little bit, the loudness greatly increases on the nearer ear. That has to do with head shadowing. But it's important that you should have your head directly at the loudspeaker, because otherwise the image that you get when you equalize the headphones will be too elevated, and you don't want that. So just make sure you keep your head level. Okay, I think it's time to actually do the equal loudness, and to do that we'll have to start the application going and start playing noise bands. So now I'm going to start the application. I have a folder here I've made. It's always useful, in my opinion, to start one of these sessions with a clean folder. So I have a clean folder here. It has one file in it, however, that is useful to me. This file is created actually when you run the app, so you don't need to have it there. In an attempt to save time, I previously ran the calibration procedure on this little Altec speaker, and I'm showing you the file that resulted. The app prints these, or it makes these files as you do the equalization. This is the equalization we need for this little Altec. So having it already in here will just save me some time. So I double-clicked on the application. I get this error message, which you can ignore, and you can see it's found the Complete Audio 6 ready to go. It's a 4-channel device. 2 channels is all you need, but make sure this says at least 2. And then we click Start. Don't click OK. This software will stop if you click OK. I now go to Audio Transform Settings. Now this is the control panel for this entire experiment. And before we start, I think I should do a brief summary of what each control does. A kind of master control here controls the memory banks. The data that you get from all your experiments is stored in memory banks. It's written automatically to these text files and also to a data file as you work, so that if there's any interruption at any time, you can come back to the program at any time, and it will automatically reload and you can start where you left off. But this particular master thing decides which memory bank it's going to store the data in. And the 0 memory bank is what you need to do your equal loudness experiment with the loudspeaker. So when you're going to do the loudspeaker, you have to set this to 0. If you haven't previously equalized the loudspeaker with your audio tool or something else, you want to go to bank 6. This one holds the EQ data for the speaker equalization, which I already put in. So let's go back to 0 here. This whole apparatus, this whole app is based on a 3rd octave graphic equalizer. Rather than have sliders, which I was unable to program, it uses these numbers. The frequency is controlled by this box here called band number. And if I click on that, you'll see that the band frequency displays in this box, band frequency. That's band number 4 is 63 Hertz, and it goes on up in third octave steps. The reference I'm going to use for equal loudness is going to be 500 Hertz. That happens to be band number 13. That one you'll never change because it's your reference. The other ones you're going to change with this equalizer here, so it's equally loud as the 500 Hertz band. The band dBs, this is the amount of EQ you're going to change. 0 means no change, and as you go up in 1 dB steps, the level will go up, and as you click them down, the level will go down. Balance controls the level difference between the left and right ears, and some headphones require it, and some ears require it more than others. It's a very good idea to adjust it, but only when you equalize the headphones. When dealing with the speaker, you leave that one alone. So that's the top row. The bottom row contains this one, which is quite important because it tells you what you're doing. And this row you basically don't need to use. I'll explain it some other time. It's a simple Q3 parametric equalizer that you can just play around with once the rest of the EQ is done. The volume control is obvious. You control volume that way. You might have a very loud recording you want to play, and you can click it down. You don't have to change your headphone volume or the volume on the interface. That will do it for you. It has a huge range in 1 dB steps, and you can use that to test your hearing actually by just lowering it until you can't hear a noise band anymore or a tone. The next one, pink noise, when you switch it on, plays decorrelated pink noise through the loudspeaker or the headphones. And that's setting 1. On setting 2, it plays mono pink noise through the loudspeaker or the headphones. This is very useful. Now, normally when you have a band like this, 125 Hertz, and you have the loudspeaker on, pink noise, when you switch it on, plays through the loudspeaker or the headphones, either decorrelated pink noise, which sounds like that, or it plays correlated pink noise, mono pink noise, which sounds different because of interference with the drivers. So that's decorrelated, that's mono. In the headphones, of course, that sounds very different. All right, now if I go to here to a band number, say I go back up to 5, let's go to say something like 300 Hertz. There we go. This is what you're going to use to do the tests. At 1 second intervals, the noise band alternates between the frequency set here and the 500 Hertz reference. And you're going to decide whether they're equally loud or not and change this. Okay. Now this control, the equalizer only control, is actually quite useful in a number of ways. Normally, if we're going to do an equal loudness experiment, either with headphones or the speaker, we would have one of these frequencies set, here say 310 Hertz. And what's happening is every 1 second it alternates between 500 Hertz reference and the 310 first noise band. However, if I switch equalizer only to 1, it turns off all the noise, and if you were playing music, or say pink noise, through it, you would get the broadband pink noise, and you could play with the equalizer to see what happens if you raise or lower it. For example, I can raise this up, and we can raise 300 Hertz way up. You don't want to do that, of course, but you can hear what that does. So that's what the equalizer only button does. And now, what we're left with is what does the subtract button do. The subtract button, if it's set to 0, you're just listening to the output of the equalizer with whatever input you're putting in. That could be alternating noise bands, it could be pink noise or whatever, it could be music. But if you switch it to 1, it takes the measurement that you've made from your headphone, and from it, it subtracts the equal loudness data that you measured from the speaker. That gives you the correction for the headphone. So when you've done your headphone EQ and you want to hear what it sounds like, you switch this to 1. Do not forget this, that when you're doing the equal loudness measurements, either of the headphone or the speaker, this has to be at 0. You only switch it to 1 when you want to actually listen to something through those headphones. Now there's one more value there. If you switch it to 2, it turns off everything and you hear whatever comes out without any equalization at all, and that could be pink noise or it could be music. So going to 2 lets you hear the headphone before you EQ'd it. 1 makes you hear the headphone after you EQ'd it. 0 makes you hear the headphone equal loudness. Well, all frequencies are equally loud, which is unnatural, but can sound very interesting and rather beautiful. It always, however, sounds above your head or somewhere in here. You never get frontal localization with it set to 0. So 1 is what you want if you want it to be really right. So that's a brief overview of what to do here. And now I'm ready to do my first equal loudness experiment. So let's do it. I'm going to get 18 inches from the loudspeaker like this. And I'm going to set my select phones to 0, remember that. And this must be set to 0, and we're all set. We have the equal loudness speaker bank, we have subtract 0, we have the pink noise off, and we're ready to go. Band frequency 0 means nothing is happening. And what I want to do is I want to start at 250 hertz because that's where I did my equalization for the speaker. And the first thing I want to do is to adjust the loudspeaker volume for some comfortable level. Usually that ends up, if you want to measure it with a meter, about 72, 73 decibels, SPL, A or C, doesn't really matter. So now what I'm going to do is say, well, are these equally loud? And the answer is yes, I think they're equally loud. So we'll go up 310 hertz now. That's equally loud, so I can go up 1 more. That's okay too. That's the reference at 500 hertz. Okay, I think that one's too loud, and I'm going to drop it down a dB. 2 dB. I think that's better. Up we go. That's much too loud. That's better. Whoa! Keeps getting louder. Why is it getting louder? Because my ears are getting more sensitive. And there's this concentration of energy at the eardrum, which is highly individual, but it's very effective. Okay, that seems all right. Remember to keep looking straight at the speaker when you do this. That's better. I'm going to change my mind later, so we get another shot at this. I usually like to go up in frequency, do this, and then go back down and see if I change my mind. I'm actually using the mouse here. I could use the keypad on the computer. The up-down arrows work once you've selected a box. Let's say that's good enough. No, 1 more down. Okay, 1 more up. Ooh, that's really loud. My ears get very sensitive around 2500 hertz, so 3000 hertz. And this is showing it. We'll go with that for the moment. Okay. Okay. That one I'm gonna have to raise a bit. Again, make sure you're looking right at it. If I turn my head, it gets much louder, but you want the sound when it's right at you. Okay, let's go back up now. One more. I'm going to raise that up a little too. Okay, that's pretty good. What do I want to do? Yeah, I think I'm gonna raise it just a tad. Okay, and 10,000 is kind of the limit of my hearing, but boy, if I turn my head, it's right there. But if I'm looking right at it, it's tough. I think I'm going to compromise here. I'm going to just raise it a couple dB, because not every source is directly in front of me. Okay, now I'm going to go down and just see that I still agree with it. Yeah. It's a little soft. I'm going to raise that up a bit. That's better. Oops, wrong buttons. I think it's too soft too. That's better. Yeah, up a couple. One more. Okay, we've done the equal loudness measurement with the loudspeaker, and now we need to do it with the headphones. And the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that the select headphones bank is set to 1, because that's the bank for headphones and not for loudspeakers. And I'm going to make sure that the subtract on is in fact set to 0, which is what it needs to be for this part of the procedure. And then what I'm going to do is step up here to 500 Hertz and make sure that it sounds centered in my head, which it does. So I think that's good. And now we're going to go down to 30 Hertz and see if I can hear it. Well, I cranked that up to 14 dB in the last try, and that seems about right. Here, it's also about 6 is right. That seems right. So 5 dB at 60 Hertz, 5 dB at 80, 3 dB at 100, 1 dB at 125. These are all centered. That's good. 200, 250, all good. Reference is good. 630. You know, it's beginning to be not balanced properly. I'm going to move this over 2 dB. That's better. Otherwise, it's okay. Same here for the 800. And I want to bring, it's too loud now. We'll go there. 2 dB here. Make it 3. Too loud. That sounds about right. -7 and a 5 dB to the left. 4 dB. 3 dB to the left. Drop it down some. That's good. Ooh. 1 dB to the left. Much too loud. Let's go there. Much too loud. I'm gonna make it a couple dB to the left. Let's make it 3. There we are. Whether these shift to the left or to the headphone or my ears, I'm not sure, but all my headphones shift to the left slightly, so it's partly my ears. But this is good. Now the thing I really need to do now is to go back down to make sure I'm not going to change my mind. But frequently this is the case. So, make that a little less. That's good. 1 dB more. That's good. That could be more. That could be more. More. Don't know why I'm changing my mind on that, but it's not really that significant. I'm only changing it by 1 or 2 dB. Okay, we're good. So now it's time to listen to some music. And to do that, I have set up a little thing here. I have a special little PowerPoint where I have something called binaural examples. And the binaural examples have some wondrous music in it. For example, this is a bit of Handel's Samson from a very good seat in Boston Symphony Hall. And these are really just terrific. I'm not sure it will play, but I'll give it a try. Yeah? Oh my gosh. It does play. Wow. These recordings, a good seat in a great hall like Boston with a great orchestra and a great chorus is stunning. And you turn that on and you stop because you're suddenly sitting there in Boston Symphony Hall. And it stops me cold, and it still does. Gosh, that sounds wonderful. Well, I can't play it for you, so I think that's as much as I can do with the playing. What I want to do now is show you what happens if you click the very last box I haven't talked about, the right impulse response box. And if I click on that, it's going to send an impulse through the equalizers just as they're set now. And I get an impulse response of exactly the filter setting that are equalizing these headphones. And I can look at that with addition, which I already have up here for this purpose. There we are. And if I open this impulse response, which I just recorded, I get this. And if I analyze this for frequency response, I get this. And if I then expand the vertical scale a bit, I get something that looks like that. Well, this is the equalization I just found for these headphones. And you can see that the left ear needs more treble than the right, but that's concentrated at around 3 kilohertz, where one tends to get the maximum hearing damage. And it's also the most resonant part, so any change in the resonance will cause this kind of boost. And then there's this big notch here, which is really important. And notice that I've had to boost the bass quite significantly to get these phones to rumble at me in a convincing way. So this impulse response can be convolved with anything you want to make any piece of music sound good through these headphones. And as I showed earlier, if we go to the folder, which was formerly empty, you see now we have headphone data.txt and headphone response.txt. The headphone response is the correction that you need. And if I open that file, you'll see that there's 4 columns, not just 2. And the first 2 columns are the data that we saw in the equalizer display when we entered it. However, the actual equalizer settings are shown in the second 2 columns, because in fact there's a circuit in the app which tends to adjust the equalizers to make less interaction between bands. So if you had an external equalizer, a 3rd octave Q3, or even better, a 3rd octave Q5, you could put these numbers into that, and lots of people make them, and you could listen to your headphones through that. Now, if you have a Windows computer and you want to listen to whatever's on the Windows computer, YouTube or music or whatever you want to listen to, sound files, there's a program that's available in SourceForge called EqualizerAPO, and if you Google on that, you'll find that you can actually install that on your Windows computer and enter these numbers into it, setting Q5, which would make it identical to what I have here. And then anything you play will be equalized for those those particular headphones, and you should enjoy it very much. So that ends this presentation. I hope you've found it informative and useful, and I may take this up again at some point, but right now this is the end. Thank you very much.